My name is Joseph Caramano. I graduated from St. Joseph by the Sea High School in 2003. And I filed a lawsuit under the Child Victims Act last month because of abuse that I suffered under Monsignor Paddack, who was an academic dean here at the school and a counselor of mine when I was in 11th grade. It took place in a therapeutic setting, so I would go to him for counseling and medication that I had prescribed to me for anxiety. This was after September 11th, and I was out of school for a while, and part of my re-entry to school was under the stipulation that he would have my medication in his desk, and if I ever needed to take it, I would leave class, go take it. He would talk to me. I didn't know what it was until after. Because I had a lot of other things going on at the time, I was suicidal, I was on a lot of medication, I was experiencing panic attacks in class. So the immediate need that I had was to calm down, the immediate need was to get a sense of reality. So I wasn't fully aware of what was going on, and I had blocked it out for a long time. And it wasn't until many years later that I got more clarity on it and started to realize that this is what was happening, and happening repeatedly, and that this wasn't supposed to be happening. The impression that I got was that it was no big deal, that like this is what he did, this was his, and he was established in that, there were other people that went to him, and I kind of assumed, oh, this is the same, everyone, goes through this with, it's part of growing up or something. There were things that, like, at the time, there is still a lot that I don't remember, which bothers me more than anything. I'll remember, we used to do this thing with the pens on the desk, like we would choose the pen with his fingers. He had these caramel candies on the desk with the cream center, the cologne, the scent cologne. He used to call me Yoey, and where he would sit and he would move and his voice would change, like a soft, like a loud whisper and things like that. But I don't remember specific. And in other therapeutic settings, I could remember conversations. I can remember I went in there with this and I left with that. I think because there were so many other things that were going on, it was a very difficult time. It was right after September 11th. I had been hospitalized briefly at the end of that month. Even at home, my father had triple bypass surgery. There was a death in the family. There was a classmate of mine that had passed away later that year. So there were a lot of things going on, and just getting through the day or getting through that period or morning was all I was thinking about. There were a lot of times where I was not in a good place, where the priority just was getting through the day, to minimize a lot of those fears, that anxiety, that depression. I first told some students of mine. I was working, and it was the first time that I really put the pieces together and had remembered that that this happened. I raised the question, I said, I don't, it's very strange that how could people forget these things that have happened to them in the past? How could people not remember, and years later, all of a sudden? And I said, that's like me thinking about my whole life. Was there ever a time that anyone ever did anything to me? And it just hit me, it struck me, and I said, wait a minute, when I was in high school, I used to go to this priest for counseling. He used to keep my medication in his drawer. I used to go there for it, and he used to touch me. I said, and it was like, yeah, this really happened. This was real. And I kind of didn't say much more because it wasn't the right setting. But it struck me. That was in November 2017, and since then it was kind of out of the consciousness of what I was thinking about. And I saw his name in the newspaper in February of this year, and then it all hit me again, and I said, wait a second, if there's someone else that had a similar experience, I want to, who is this person? Where are they? And maybe there's a lot more to it than what I was remembering at that time. So it really put a strain on a lot of the relationships that I've been struggling to maintain in my personal life, especially with the issue of trust. This was not only a teacher, this was not only a guidance counselor, this was a school administrator and a priest. So it's very difficult to imagine someone with those many, those roles some roles that I admire, that I still continue to admire, of someone doing something wrong. So it definitely causes me to, question a lot of people's motives and things like that, and just struggling with basic relationships also. The best support that I've gotten was from meeting other victims, other survivors, just to, they're out there, they're alive, they've had it worse than me, living with it for much, much longer, and if they're able to lead faithful lives and still go to church and still be active in their parishes and have strong, relationships, if they can do it, I can do it. So that's been a tremendous source of help for me as well. It worries me because there are so many more questions than there are answers. And it also worries me if they did know about those, they obviously, put me in a room with him, literally, many times, and, all of those others, and they, put him in other settings, in other schools, and other parishes. Once I had made the report and met with the Archdiocesan investigators, and, met with them, and so much time had gone by and there was still nothing being done, it just seemed like I needed to do more in terms of putting a face to what had been happening. It was something that I could do, that I had the opportunity to. It came upon me, and I did it, and with that I was able to be more public and therefore bring more attention to it. I hope that, for one, there is information that the Archdiocese has that they may have, that I hope that is all put out there. I hope that the accountability and the transparency that we were promised is actually going to happen. I hope that this also shines light on the practices that should not be taking place, that the Archdiocese should not be moving priests around and not revealing to the public the instances of priests that are accused repeatedly of misconduct with children. I would like to say that there really are a lot of good holy priests out there, holy men, there are holy women in religious orders in the Archdiocese, and I think that when something like this happens, it's very unfair to them also, that they have to, be uncertain about, their brother priests. And I would expect, if I was a priest, that the right thing would be done, that they would be taken care of. The faith in that institution, they need to take care of this problem, this situation, so that those who are the good priests, the majority of them, can be proud, can know that they don't have to worry about all these questions. They know that if everything's out there, everything is transparent, then they can do what they are called to do.